Hello chess fans and welcome to Chess Vibe, and today we are going to see one of the aggressive game played in the chess history. The game is between one and only Garry Kasparov versus Viswanathan Anand, best of all time. Yeah, both the players have been world chess champion, so definitely the game was very interesting. Yeah, this game is considered to be one of the most aggressive attacking game in the chess history. So let's check it out why this game was so attacking and why this game was so fantastic. So till then, stay tuned and keep watching Chess Vibes. So Garry Kasparov with the white pieces and Viswanathan Anand with the black pieces. So let's come on and let's check it out this game. So Garry Kasparov with the white pieces started the game with 1 e4 and Viswanathan Anand with the black pieces replied with e5. Knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5. So we have the Roy Lopez opening, a6, bishop a4, and now we have knight to f6 by black. And here white decided to simply castle in the position. And after castle, black decided to capture the pawn on e4 with the knight. So black is already a pawn plus, and okay, it's still all the theory. So after knight into e4, white decided to play d4. So white is asking whether you want to capture the pawn on d4 or whether you want to play something else. So first black decided to play b5, hitting the bishop on a4, bishop b3, and now we have d5. And in this position after bishop b3, if black would have captured the pawn on d4 with the e pawn, then white is having a very fantastic move in the position. Rook e1, pinning up the knight and the king. So black will decide to play d5, protecting the knight. So after d5, white is going to play one of the fantastic moves already, which is knight c3. Fantastic, brilliant. After knight c3, black knight cannot capture the knight because the knight is pinned. So if black decide to capture the knight with the pawn, which looks the most natural move, then white is going to play bishop into d5. And after bishop into d5, notice that now the black knight on e4 is hanging, as well as the knight on c6 is hanging as well. So first of all, black cannot prevent both the knights, so it's better to prevent the knight on c6 by playing bishop to b7. And after bishop b7, white can simply capture the knight on e4. And if black decides to trade off the queens, then white is going to play bishop into c6 check. It's a double check, so black is forced to move the king. And after rook into d1 check, king c8, bishop into b7 check, king into b7, and you will notice that white is simply a piece plus. So after bishop into e4, if black decides to play bishop e7 at the place of trading the queens, then white can play queen e2. And after queen e2, if black decides to castle, then bishop into c6, bishop into c6, and now we have queen into e7. Queen into e7, rook into e7, and you will notice that white is a piece plus. And after queen e2, if black didn't decide to go for the castle, I don't think there is any move for black to do. Yeah, so white is already completely winning in the position. But after bishop b3, so that's after bishop b3, black decided to play d5. And after d5, white played d into e5. Now white have also regained his pawn back. Bishop e6, knight d2, knight to c5, because white was threatening to capture the knight, and after pawn takes, white was threatening to capture the bishop on e6. So that's why knight c5, c3, and now we have d4 by black. So already black's trying to make the things complicated. So now white is having many options. He can capture the bishop, he can capture the pawn with the knight or with the pawn, or he can play something else. So after d4, white decided to play a fantastic move, which is, can you find the move? This is my first question. Feel free to pause the video and try to find the best move for white in the position, which it is not the best move, but practically speaking, it is the most interesting move. So try to find the move. So I hope that you have all found the move. Actually, it's pretty hard to find, but still, if you were able to find it, congratulations. The right move, which was played in the game by Garry Kasparov, is knight g5. Fantastic, incredible. After knight g5, white is simply hanging the piece on g5. It makes no sense. We are going to discuss about it. But after d4, bishop into e6 was the best move. Because after bishop into e6, knight into e6, c into d4, knight into d4, and after knight to e4, white is slightly better in the position because of the pawn on e5. Okay, but knight g5 was played, and after knight g5, black decided to play d into c3. But if Viswanathan Anand would have captured the knight on g5 with the queen, then there's a very interesting line. After queen into g5, we have queen f3 by white. After queen f3, white is already attacking the knight and the rook. You cannot move the knight because the rook is hanging, and you cannot move the rook because the knight is hanging. So basically, you have to protect the knight on c6. So if black tries to play king d7 protecting the knight, then white is having the only move for white to win the game, which is bishop to d5. Very hard to find. After bishop d5, white is threatening to capture the knight on c6. So if black tries to capture the bishop with the bishop, then after queen into d5 check, we have bishop to e6. White cannot capture the bishop because the queen is hanging on d5. So the best move for white is to play c into d4, hitting the knight. So after knight e6 comes the most incredible move, knight c4. You cannot capture the knight because the queen is hanging, so you have to move the queen. So after queen g6, white is going to play incredible move, knight b6 check. Fantastic. After knight b6 check, if you try to move the king anywhere, it doesn't matter where, the knight is hanging on c6. So it's better to capture the knight on b6 with the pawn. But now we have queen into d6 check, king c8, queen into c6 check, knight to c7 asking a queen trade. But white is simply going to come back with the queen to f3. And yep, white is completely winning the position because white is having already a very strong center. And black king is much weaker than the white king. So yep, we can already see that white is completely winning. So yep, and after bishop d5, if black tries to capture the pawn on e5 with the knight, hitting the queen, then white is simply going to play bishop into e6 check, and after f into e6, queen into h8, and you can see white is an exchange plus, and you can just compare the king. Black king is just completely scared and very weak. So that's why white was completely winning. So after at the place of queen into g5, Viswanathan Anand decided to play d into c3, and after d into c3, we have knight into e6 by white, hitting the queen. F into e6, b into c3, and now we have queen d3. Bishop c2, queen into c3, knight to b3, protecting the rook on a1. Now we have knight into b3, bishop into b3, and now we have knight to g4 by black. If black would have captured the rook on a1, then white can play simply queen h5 check. After queen h5 check, if black decides to play something like g6 attacking the queen, then there's the only single move which gives the winning position to white, which is queen f3. And after queen f3, white is hitting knight on c6, and yep, also the pawn on e6 hanging as well. And there could be some very tactical ideas like moving the bishop from c1 square, and the rook is attacking the queen. So already it's very hard for black to play the position. So sacrificing the rook is worth it. So that's why at the place of capturing the rook, Viswanathan and I decided to play first knight to d4. We have queen to g4. After queen g4, Viswanathan Anand thought, okay, now let me capture the rook on a1. And after queen to a1, now Garry Kasparov was like, yes, this is what I wanted. So after queen into a1, Garry Kasparov played bishop into e6, rook to d8. All of those who were thinking what will happen, what will happen if black simply tries to move the queen away from this fight. Then there is a critical move which is bishop to d7 check, and after king f, like take king d8, there is only move bishop to g5 check, and after bishop e7, white is simply winning after bishop into e7 check, king into e7, queen into g7 check, and after king d8, there are so many ways to win the position. White can play bishop g4, white can play bishop h3, even capturing the rook is also winning. After king into d7, white can capture the rook on a8, and it's winning. So yep, that's why black didn't move the queen, and he first played rook d8 so that there would be no bishop d7 threats. White played bishop h6. Fantastic, actually very hard to find the move. And why only bishop h6? Why not play, like, is bishop g5 also winning? No, only bishop h6 is winning. Let's check it out why. After playing bishop to h6, Viswanathan played queen c3. We have bishop into g7 capturing the pawn, and here black played queen d3. All were thinking that what will happen after bishop into g7, what is happening? Then it's mate in 2. First comes queen h5 check, and black is having 2 moves. It doesn't matter where would black go. White is going to play queen f7, and it's completely checkmate. Yep, that is the point. So that's why black cannot capture the bishop, and he has to play queen d3, so that if there would be some queen h5 threats, black can play queen g6. So here white simply captured the rook, and after queen g6, bishop to f6, hitting the rook, and saying, okay, do you want to trade queens? I'm okay with it. So after bishop f6, we have bishop e7, bishop into e7, queen into g4, bishop into g4, king into e7, and just compare the position. White is the pawn up, and not even the pawn up, but by having a pawn up, white is completely winning in the position. The reason is very simple, because the pawn on e5 is very strong actually, and black has simply pushed his f pawn, and it's 2 pass pawn, which is actually very hard to chop for black. That is why it's given a winning position to white. And let's move. What will happen if at the place of playing bishop h6, if white tries to play bishop g5 in the position? If white tries to play bishop g5 in the position, yeah, because the threat is same, because white is still attacking the queen and white is threatening to capture the rook. But actually it's not going to work. It's now winning for black actually, because black is going to play queen c3. After you capture the rook, now black is having an incredible move. I think everyone would have you failed to find that move. h5. Brilliant. After h5, black idea here is to remove the queen from this diagonal, so that the knight on d4 would capture the bishop on e6. So if you try to play queen g6 check, then black is going to capture the bishop on d8, and the reason h5 was necessary in the move, because now black can play rook h6, a deadly move, hitting the queen, hitting the bishop, and it's winning for black. If the pawn were on h7, definitely the situation would have different. Perhaps it would have been an equal position. But for now, black is winning. So that was the reason. After stuff like everything was exchanged, and after king into e7, white is winning. So after king into e7, many moves were played. Rook c1, c6, and Garry Kasparov slowly just make his position better by playing f4, a5. So Viswanathan is also trying to push his queenside pawn, because those pawns are his last hope. So after a5, we have king f2, a4, king e3. We have b4, bishop to d1, hitting the pawn. So a3, g4 now from the white side. Yeah, definitely, it's completely winning. Rook e5, rook d5, rook to c4, hitting the pawn, hitting the knight. So we have c5, king to e4. So now the rook have to move. You cannot play king e6 because f5 is just winning for white. So rook d8, rook into c5, knight to e6, rook to d5, rook c8, f5, rook to c4 check, king e3, knight c5, g5, rook c1, rook d6. And on the move number 38, after playing rook to d6, Viswanathan Anand with the black pieces resigned the game, and Garry Kasparov with the white pieces won the game. Fantastic game played by both the players. We can say this game was actually very epic because there was so many complications. Very deep, very deep. The game was actually very deep. It was so much stacking game that I loved it so much that white sacrificed his rook, white sacrificed his knight. Many things happened in the game which made this game actually interesting. So if you also like this game very much, then please like to the video. And if you're new to my channel, then please make sure to subscribe the channel because I'm going to come up with these new videos for you because we are in the chess world and we are going to make chess much more popular. So share this video with your friends and family members. So till then, stay tuned and keep watching Chess Fights.